11 years managing money for entrepreneurs worth tens of millions of dollars. Let me save you 10 and a half years. The entrepreneurs you see on TV, the ones that blew it all up, they're not dumb, they're busy. Last year alone, here's what I saw. An entrepreneur building a $100 million holdco. He was about to cost himself millions of dollars in taxes, all because he didn't know anything about taxes. Another entrepreneur running a media company lost his biggest customer 3 months away from going completely bankrupt. The year before, making millions of dollars. And another guy with a $30 million portfolio was investing like he was still 25 and broke, still betting even though he had already won the game. All three sharp guys, but they all had one thing in common. They had blind spots. And chances are, if you're an entrepreneur, you probably have one too. Let's see if we can find it. When you started your business, chances are you didn't think it was going to be worth $100 million, right? You were sitting there at the bar, writing down on the back of the napkin, here's our game plan. Here's what we're going to do. Here's how we're going to come up with the money because we don't have any. And before you knew it, you built a business worth millions and millions of dollars. And then come to find out it was too late. And the plans that you put in place were the wrong plans and they were going to cost you millions and millions of dollars. That's why before you start your business, you need to think about the entity structure that you put in place. Because the entity structure that this entrepreneur put in place could have cost him millions of dollars. When you think about entities, there are typically two types of entities that you could set up. One is a pass-through entity, where any money that you make passes through directly to your tax return. You're going to get what's called a K-1 from your business, and then it's going to go on your 1040, which is your personal tax return. Majority of businesses that are out there that are set up as pass-through entities. If you hear things like I'm an LLC or I'm an S corporation or I'm a partnership, those are all going to be pass-through entities. Now, when we think about businesses that get the most amount of tax breaks, they're actually companies that are set up as corporations. But corporations are not for everybody. This specific business owner that I'm referencing, he was set up as a corporation and he qualified for something called QSBS or Qualified Small Business Stock. This is a rule that's out there that when you go to set your business up, if you set it up properly as a C corporation, you can qualify for 100% exclusion on capital gain sale of your business. That's right. You go to sell your business and you pay 0% federal income tax on the sale of your business. Seems crazy, but it's not. And in 2026, you can get up to $15 million per person in this qualified small business stock federal tax exemption. Don't jump too fast. If you hear that and you're thinking, wow, this is amazing, I have to be a C Corp. Hold your horses. When we think about a C corporation, the biggest risk is that it gets double taxed. You're going to get taxed at the corporate level, which is at roughly 20%. And then you're also going to get taxed at the personal level on any money that you pull out. So you're thinking, Luke, that sounds like a terrible idea. We're talking about roughly 60% in taxes by doing the C corporation. Actually works perfectly for the right business. The business that's set up as a holdco, where you're reinvesting all those dollars back into the business. Because if you're reinvesting everything back in the business, you can be in a situation where you're paying roughly 20% in corporate taxes. You're paying nearly no federal income tax to the personal level because you're leaving everything in the business. And it gives you actually more money to reinvest and deploy back into other businesses that you are buying. And you, as the entrepreneur listening to this, you're probably exhausted thinking, Luke, we just talked about this. I don't have any time. Well, that's exactly where I come in. We're the team that actually takes those great ideas and gets them all the way to the finish line so you save millions of dollars in taxes. Business owner number 2 that I saw just last year was a business owner that was a media company doing millions of dollars of revenue, and they had a huge problem, customer concentration risk. Now, when we think about customer concentration risk, the problem that most business owners have is that they don't realize they have the problem until it's too late. So what I want you to be thinking about is, what is my largest customer that I have, and what is the percentage of revenue tied to that customer? Is it 1%, 5%, 10%, 30%? Chances are, if it's over 10%, you have major concentration risk. Because if we think about the basics of a business, you might be running a business at 10, 20, 30, 40% margin. Or if you run an amazing marketing agency, might be 70, 80%. But in this situation, a 10% drop in revenue could be a massive hit to your bottom line. And this is exactly what happened. That large customer left and they didn't have the cash reserves in the business. Because when you think about your business, you need to make sure you have adequate amount of cash reserves that are tied to your customer concentration risk. The higher the amount of customer concentration risk you have, the more cash you need to keep in your business. The less customer concentration risk you have, the less money you need to keep in your business. Now, as an entrepreneur, again, you're really busy. So you're thinking, Luke, I am exhausted already. I do not have time to look at these numbers. Well, this is exactly what we do. We look at those numbers for you and we tell you how much money you should be keeping in your business to make sure you don't end up like the media company that nearly went bankrupt. This third problem that I ran into just last year is near and dear to my heart. It's for people that have won the game. Because when I think about entrepreneurs, there's typically 3 stages for entrepreneurs. There's the entrepreneur that just started, the one that's writing down all these notes on a napkin at the bar. There is entrepreneur number 2, that's, call it making $500,000, $1 million, $2 million, and they're living a great life. They are still so excited about the entrepreneur game, and they're continuing to run hard and fast. And then there's entrepreneur number 3, which is the entrepreneur we're talking about right now, which is the entrepreneur that's won the game. You had the liquidity event, you got tens of millions of dollars after taxes, and frankly, you don't have to do anything if you don't want to. Now, for most of the entrepreneurs we work with, they're going to want to get back in the saddle. They're going to want to run businesses. They're going to want to continue to grow and develop, and that's normal. But we still need to make sure that we never lose the game. And this entrepreneur had $30 million. You heard that right, $30 million. But he was invested like he was 25 and broke. He was taking $10,000 and putting it all into Bitcoin in 2012, saying this is going to be worth $100,000 in Bitcoin one day. The crazy thing is there are tons of people that are doing this every single day. They've won the game and they are reinvesting too much money into risk-on assets when they don't need to. When we ran the portfolio analysis for their portfolio, their max drawdown was over 70%. That's right, a $30 million portfolio turned into $9 million overnight. Now, $9 million is still a lot of money, but $30 million sure seems a lot better and gives you a lot more flexibility. Now, if you're the entrepreneur that's watching this and you're like, Luke, I love to take risks. This is exactly what I'm doing because I'm going to turn that $30 million into $200 million, $300 million. What I would tell you is that it's your money. There's nothing wrong with doing that, but there is a high probability that eventually you're going to push the chips back in the pot and you're going to lose. And when you lose, you don't want to start from ground zero. Because remember that guy at the bar that's writing down the notes at the napkin? You never want to go back to that stage. And the way that you're never going to go back to that stage is making sure that you protect the downside. If you're thinking, Luke, that sounds all great, but I don't have any time. I would love to learn more about protecting the downsides. Well, newsflash, right here, there's a video where I talk about protecting a $10 million portfolio. And in the comments below, I have a blog post about protecting the downside of a $10 million plus portfolio. Now, if you're an entrepreneur and you love these 3 stories and you want to learn more from people who actually work with entrepreneurs just like you, hit the subscribe button below. I'm going to be putting out more and more content just like this.